A very good evening to you and welcome to Rwanda Television News with me, Sam Kalisa. Rwanda and the Central African Republic's leaders have committed to boosting cooperation between both their countries for the benefit of their people. This comes following discussions between the presidents of both countries after President Faustin Archange Touadera of the Central African Republic began a 4-day state visit in Rwanda. Serge Ntore kickstarts tonight's bulletin with this report.
The Central African Republic president arrived at the Kigali International Airport on Thursday morning and was received by Rwanda's Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation Minister, after which he was received by his Rwandan counterpart. At Village Rugwiro, President Faustin Archange Touadera was received with honors befitting a head of state, and he and President Paul Kagame then held a tete-a-tete. It has now been more than 7 years since Rwanda started sending peacekeepers to the Central African Republic, and President Touadera expressed his gratitude.
Je suis venu dire merci. Merci au peuple frère rwandais. Et à mon frère le président Kagame.
I came to tell you thank you. Thank you, our Rwandan brothers, and to you also, my brother President Kagame. Thank you for the support you provided us, the people of the Central African Republic, in our efforts to find and reinforce peace and security, as well as economic development. The people of our country want to learn from the Rwandan example set when it comes to the economy and firmness in your unity and reconciliation and the way you all live in harmony. As you know, Rwanda is part of the United Nations Multi-Dimensional Integrated Stabilization Mission in the Central African Republic, MINUSCA, also because of insecurity in the Central African Republic and a request made by the Economic Community of Central African States. Rwanda was the first to send troops in support of our own armed forces, the FACA, in their effort to secure the country.
Envoyer des troupes pour appuyer les FACA dans leurs efforts de sécurisation du pays.
Calls were also made for Rwandans to invest in the Central African Republic. Rwanda also contributed in bringing the Central African Republic out of isolation through its national carrier Rwandair, which also became a way of reinforcing the cooperation that exists between our people. I also want to take this opportunity to inform the Rwandan business community that there are many economic opportunities in the Central African Republic and a climate conducive for business and investment. I therefore call on them to invest heavily there in all sectors so that both sides can benefit.
Donc, aller investir massivement dans tous les domaines mutuellement bénéfiques.
On his part, President Paul Kagame noted that Rwanda is willing to support the Central African Republic in its efforts and also pointed out that Africa needs these types of cooperation between her countries.
Rwanda has been happy to join hands with the people of Central African Republic in a pursuit of peace, reconciliation, and prosperity. The signing of these agreements and the joint communique will serve to further cement our bilateral ties and deliver on the immense potential for the socio-economic transformation of our nations. Sustained cooperation across the continent is essential for all of us to be able to succeed. Rwanda is committed to expanding our strategic partnership with tangible results in the years ahead.
On day one of his state visit, the president visited the Campaign Against Genocide Museum here in Kigali, and on Friday is expected to visit the modern settlement of Kinigi in Musanze district of the northern province, home to more than 140 families.
Still on the state visit, the presidents of Rwanda and the Central African Republic have pointed out that the cooperation between the two countries is an example of what African nations can achieve through unity. The two leaders made the remarks on Thursday during a press conference. Serge Ntore continues.
On day one of His Excellency Faustin Archange Touadera's visit here in Rwanda, both countries signed extensive cooperation agreements to do with research in the mining sector, boosting the transportation sector, bolstering the security organs in the Central African Republic, and also agreements to do with economic planning. Engaging in such cooperation is seen to be beneficial on a much broader front.
Mon vœu est aussi celui du président Kagame.
My wish is the same as that of President Kagame of changing our cooperation and have a vision of the sort of cooperation in the Southern Hemisphere that is based on solidarity, sharing, and the integration of Africa that can allow us to face challenges that arise with time and persevere through history.
Capable de résister aux aléas du temps et de se pérenniser dans l'histoire.
It was also stressed that challenges cannot be an excuse for inactivity, rather a reason to act appropriately.
Even with the problems, there are still opportunities. As we both mentioned earlier, we have come together, Rwanda and Central African Republic, around addressing problems. So for us, we are just doing what we all know, not sending message to anyone. And I think it will also be a demonstration that those things we say every day should not just remain in words. They can be done, and done with good results, like is already beginning to happen in Central African Republic with the countries that rightly engage with and in that country. So I think for me it's what we should be doing.
The contributions of Rwandan peacekeepers in the Central African Republic was also commended.
Nous sommes très satisfaits de la contribution, la manière dont le contingent rwandais travaille.
We are very satisfied with the contribution and manner in which the Rwandan contingent in MINUSCA works. Those forces are loved by the people of the Central African Republic because of their achievements. Their contribution allowed us to halt the attacks by the CPC. Had there not been any cooperation to support the Central African Armed Forces, FACA, I believe the situation would be completely different compared to what we know today. This visit from President Touadera comes after President Kagame's visit to the Central African Republic in 2019.
Today, we briefly spoke to Rwanda's Minister of Trade and Industry to ask her a few questions about the agreements that have been signed with the Central African Republic. Take a listen.
Honorable Minister, let me begin by asking you, how will the agreements that Rwanda and the Central African Republic signed benefit both countries?
Those two agreements are signed benefiting both countries because for a country that has been with some instability in terms of peace and security, usually the population there needs to recover from an economic point of view. And being on the Rwanda side, having some way of doing business there, we first initiate the recovery economy for them, providing job employment for citizens in Central Africa, but also creating a way, a path to recover from that instability they are just getting now. From our side also, we think that have areas of partnership with them for what we are good at and where we can support for the potential we have in Central Africa. So be it from a national point of view, but also from a private point of view, it benefits for those sides.
And would you say that these sorts of agreements between countries help the continent when it comes to much-needed intra-African trade?
I would say that it first benefits the two countries themselves, but it goes in alignment with the inter-African trade we want to see happening and taking place in more than one country, in many countries, because we are brother countries and we are able to have something to do together. So I think it's in the benefits of the two countries, but it goes also in alignment with the inter-African trade.
And my final question, what sort of progress can Rwandans look forward to when it comes to trade with the Central African Republic moving forward into the future?
I think the president made it clear. The Central Africa president saying that he wishes to see Rwanda investing massively in their country. there's a lot of opportunities there, not just in mining, but also in agriculture, in services, in transport, in infrastructure. And I think for that call, it's something significant, it's something consistent, be it for their country, but also for ours. And we think that we will go as much as possible responding to that call.
Minister Beata Habyarimana, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you too.
And moving ahead, the Rwanda's Private Sector Federation and Rwandans working in the Central African Republic say they have started making use of the existing good relations between the two countries, and many have started investing in the country, urging that Central African Republic citizens also do the same in Rwanda. Innocent Mugabo has more.
Shaka Bruce is a Rwandan and investor with a company called Speed Freight International, which deals in trade and transportation of goods from China to the rest of the world, especially in Rwanda and the Central African Republic through Cameroon. Both Bruce and other Rwandans embarked on various businesses in the Central African Republic, of which include construction and trade in services, a proof that they are making good use of Rwanda's good relationship with the Central African Republic. They also thank the Rwandan government for the step taken.
Rwanda-Central Africa good relationship has boosted our business so much that our Rwandan business partners have expanded their operations in Central Africa. So we are very grateful to the Rwandan government for its contribution in making this happen. Honestly, we need hotels, we need energy, water, electricity, schools and clinics. So these are some of the things we plan to work on when we start in September. All those things go hand in hand with good service delivery, since we deal in logistics. I'm one of those that spearheaded different activities on how we can get commercial buildings in Bangui. That is to say, offices and residential buildings for people visiting the city, and we are trying to make sure that we do more.
Edward Kaihura, head of the Rwandan community in the Central African Republic, says that although Rwandans working in Central Africa aren't yet many, the current number is proof that the numbers are likely to rise with time.
So far, there are few investors. But the good thing is that there are Rwandans still coming in who we think will be involved in investing. There are those with mini supermarkets, some are opening up restaurants and boutiques, among others.
Robert Bafakurera, the chairman of the Rwanda Private Sector Federation, PSF, says that although many Central Africans have not yet begun to invest in Rwanda, there are many Rwandans that have invested many projects in Central Africa. He also urges others to look on how to make use of such a good relationship.
As the private sector, we have frequently visited the country. There are many Rwandans that have started businesses there, and they're making advocacy for the Central Africans to also come and do the same here. Rwandans started up different companies there, including those to do with trade, mining, agriculture and construction. There is a good chance that it is a big country, but there are not many manufacturers, so if one invests in the sector, there are high chances of making drastic profit.
Rwandans working in Central Africa believe that although the country is landlocked, Rwandans should also think about the countries neighboring it and the vast market for goods they can export to Congo-Brazzaville, Chad, Sudan, South Sudan, Cameroon, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Innocent Mugabo, RTV News.
Thank you, Innocent. And of course, still on the investment between Rwanda and the Central African Republic this evening, we're joined by Robert Bafakurera, the chairperson of the Rwanda Private Sector Federation. Sir, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
All right. I'll start by asking, and of course, commenting on what President Archange Touadera said today, inviting Rwandan investors to the Central Africa, that there is enormous economic potential in the Central African Republic, as well as a favorable business climate. First of all, what did you make of this statement as the head of the Private Sector Federation in Rwanda?
Thank you very much. This is very strong point. As far as private sector is concerned, it gives us courage and strength to invest in Central Africa. When the head of state make that kind of statement, it means that the environment, the reception, the people of Rwanda or private sector of Rwanda going to Central Africa, they are going to do their business with the support of government. So it means a lot to the private sector.
All right, and where can we see, or at what level is the private sector investment in both countries, the private sector investment of Rwanda to the Central Africa and the other way around, where can we say it stands today?
Today, you know very well that this kind of relationship, the good environment, the peace in Central Africa has started recently. As private sector, we have started also visiting the country, meeting our colleagues in Central Africa to see where are possible opportunities. But what I could appreciate is that private sector members of Rwanda have moved very fast. Some of them have opened up their companies, have started trading, have started doing different services. And we have a lot of hope that many will go, and we are in discussions with many more, trying to tell them, those who haven't gone, to understand that in Central Africa, there are opportunities. And Central Africa is in the center of West Africa, being neighbored by Cameroon, Nigeria, Congo, Brazzaville, Chad. There's a lot of opportunities.
All right, and finally, before we let you go, what do the agreements that was signed between Rwanda and the Central African Republic mean to the private sector that we represent?
Most of them were centered to create a good environment to facilitate Rwandese to be able to do their businesses in Central Africa. You know, when you come from a country like Rwanda and went to Central Africa, there are a lot of regulations and the kind of environment which may be hard for us to start businesses. But whatever was cited as would make it difficult for us to do businesses is some of them which are signed in the protocols between the two countries.
All right, Mr. Robert, let me thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you too.
And of course, moving ahead, Rwanda has expressed a solidarity following the death of Tanzania's Minister of Defense, Elias Kwandikwa. He had also served as a member of parliament. Rwanda's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation sent a message of condolence through the country's embassy in Tanzania. And of course, let us say, may his soul rest in peace. And of course, moving ahead, residents continue to express their gratitude towards the vaccination initiative being carried out at no cost to them. The Ministry of Health urges residents to get vaccinated and do not miss on this opportunity. Jed Mwali has the report.
You will find a large number of people participating. They say this is an opportunity given to them by the government to protect them at no cost and are confident that the vaccine will build their immunity against the virus.
This disease is easily contracted without the vaccine. Yes, you may acquire it even with the vaccine, but the vaccine gives you immunity, a better chance at fighting it.
The reason I'm getting vaccinated is to protect myself from the virus. That is killing young people and elders as well. It won't remove the fact that I have to continue to follow the guidelines set to fight against COVID-19, but it will protect me. On the other hand, there are those that say they don't have time to get vaccinated and others that don't believe in it.
There are some that say it presents difficulty when trying to have children, and others say they get shivers or feel cold out of the blue. I won't be going there.
We have only been tested to see if we have COVID. The vaccine has not reached close to us, but we desperately want it, and will be sure to vaccinate as soon as we can find it close by. Those who have been vaccinated point out the fallacy of thinking that way.
I had my beliefs and curiosity concerning the virus and vaccination, but now I urge people to get out of their heads and vaccinate themselves. The virus is all over the world, and it doesn't matter what you believe in. It's better to be protected.
Vaccinations are being set up in government clinics across the country, at 2 select sites in town and 5 private clinics in Kigali City. The representative of private clinics providing the vaccination says there has been greater turnout as time passes and that people should ignore baseless rumors.
A vaccinated person is the same as giving that person an army when the enemy comes, only to find that they're ready and protected. All I can tell people is to try and change their beliefs against vaccination. If you find that it is for religious purpose, I ask you to consult a doctor so they may explain and clarify all your concerns.
The Minister of State in charge of primary health care is urging the people to make the most of this opportunity as vaccines are in high demand.
There are many people that want to get vaccinated, but we have very few. Getting vaccinated is extremely important because the virus is new and the human body is not accustomed to fighting something like it. It takes time for the body's immune system to be well equipped to fight against it. If someone's health is compromised or the immune system is not strong enough, the virus can kill them. Vaccinating them helps build their immune systems so they are able to survive if they get infected.
Statistics from the Ministry of Health on August 4, 2021 show that 520,365 people have been fully vaccinated in Rwanda, and more than 44,000 have already received the first dose of the vaccine. Umngari Jade, RTV News.
Thank you, Jed, for the report. Former inmates who were recently pardoned by the President of the Republic and those that have been granted conditional release say their time in prison has not been in vain because they have learnt a lot, including living in harmony with those they will find in the community. A recent cabinet meeting approved a presidential order pardoning 10 women who had been detained after being convicted of abortion and sentenced by courts, as well as a conditional release of 4,781 other inmates. The pardoned prisoners who were released today, Thursday 5th, thanked the President of the Republic for the release. They promised to live in harmony with their families and the community in general.
We are very happy and we thank him very much for ignoring our wrongdoings to the country. You cannot be forgiven and repeat the same mistake.
I was arrested because of drug abuse. I will never do the same. Even if I see a person doing it, I will report them. I will keep the good conducts I had here. They say their time in prison has not been in vain because they have learned a lot, including different vocational activities, and that they will use them to develop themselves and their families. I learned all this from here, making it and playing it. I can say I have graduated from the university.
We learned a lot from here. For example, I studied ICT and I completed my course, so we shall use it in the community outside. I am going back to society and I'm committed to work with others, especially that they gave me some vocational courses.
SSP Peli Uweragakwaya, the spokesperson of the Rwanda Correctional Services, RCS, urged them to behave well in their families and to be partners in the fight against crime.
Niba babahaye liberation conditionnelle ntibagapfusha ubusa amahirwe babonye.
They have been given a release on parole, so they should not waste the opportunity they have been given. They should rather use the time they should have been in prison to help the community, especially for the 10 women that were pardoned. That should serve as a lesson. They should partner with the local authorities to prevent other women from being jailed.
With the exception of 10 women who were given irrevocable pardons, all other inmates that have been given conditional release must be careful not to commit any crimes
when back in the society, because doing so would land them straight back in prison, and they would have to first complete their previous sentences before serving time for their new crimes.
The Rwanda Correctional Service has approved the retirement of 157 of its employees. These include senior and junior officers and prison guards.
To me, this is a blessing because working among prisoners is not easy. It's a tough job that requires dedication and honesty. Temptations were involved, but God helped us. I am truly grateful. We achieved our main objectives, which include rehabilitating prisoners, counseling them and educating them about the Rwanda program, Unity and Reconciliation. What I would tell those who have remained in the field is to continue from where we have stopped. Ensure that the security is maintained and do enough monitoring to ensure that drugs do not enter the prison.
The Minister of Justice and Attorney General Busingye Johnston thanked the retirees for the various changes they've made in the field and reminded them that wherever they go, they will continue to be ambassadors of their respective posts.
Kugorora abanyarwanda b'ingeri zose abato.
Rehabilitating prisoners brought from across the country with different ages and genders is a tough job. And to us, you have done such a great job, which is why you shall proceed to your next chapters as ambassadors.